Another month of the season has come to an end, so it is time for the monthly recap. June has finished, so at the end of June, our Atlanta Braves are sitting at 43-32, which is a pretty good record to be sitting at, but the Washington Nationals are absolutely dominating this season, therefore that we are 8 games back from first place in the NL East, and we are sitting as the first wildcard team right now. So, despite us playing good baseball and being a good baseball team, the Nationals are just an even better team, led by Bryce Harper, and then, of course, they signed Dallas Keuchel in the offseason, so the rotation is even more ridiculous. And since we are doing the June recap, that means it is time to also go over who we drafted this year in the MLB entry draft. We had the 26th overall pick this year in the 2019 draft, and we had 6 draft picks. We selected with those 6 picks. Our first one was Eddie Baez. He is a third baseman slash corner outfielder, C potential. Of course, like as always, I'm not going to be going over these guys' attributes because that would defeat the purpose of these guys doing prospect profiles in the future. And then our next pick was Alberto Lopes, a third baseman, B potential. Third pick was Travis Leroy, third baseman, B potential as well. Johnny Vera, right field, C potential. Tom Dixon, left field, B potential. And then Jared Lord, starting pitcher, B potential. And those were our 6 picks in the 2019 MLB entry draft. Moving on to who on our team is in the league leaders section, Freddie Freeman has turned things around through his slow start. He now has 18 home runs, which is 5th in the National League. David Robertson has 22 saves, which is tied for 4th. Saves, once again, that's a stat that really doesn't mean much, doesn't tell you how good a player is, because the guy really isn't pitching that well. His ERA is a bit too high. I would like to see that come down a bit, but he is there, and I figured I would show it nonetheless. Patrick Corbin, however, is a guy who is leading the league in a stat that does matter with a 2.02 ERA. He is the first guy in the National League leading the entire National League. Patrick Corbin, he was a big pickup for us this past offseason. Mike Foltynewicz with a 1.07 whip. That is 8th in the National League, also pitching quite well in our rotation. And you might have noticed that when I was showing Freddie Freeman that he is on the DL, and that is correct. He is on the DL with shoulder inflammation. He was placed on the 10-day DL. He was out for about 1 to 2 weeks. He's already pretty much done all that time. He's out for 1 to 6 days now. He'll be back anytime soon. He's not going to be... He wasn't gone for some significant amount of time. It was just Rio Ruiz was playing first base while he was gone. Didn't really miss a beat while he was gone. Now taking a look at some of the bats on our team that aren't guys who are among the league leaders, there's Corey Spangenberg, who is hitting .273 with a .317 OBP and a .388 slugging, that is a .705 OPS. So the guy isn't really hitting that well. He's not hitting extra base hits a lot. He's not hitting home runs. He's not really getting on base that often, but the average is definitely decent. But once again, average doesn't tell you the whole story. 273 average is a pretty decent average, but once again, looking at those slugging and OBP percentages, they tell you that not really that great of a player. And he is our starting left fielder, though. He is a guy who I could possibly be trading at the deadline. We'll see once that gets along. We'll get into that a bit later in the episode. Josh Harrison is a guy who started off the season really slow. He has definitely turned things around with a .298 average, a .351 OBP, a .403 slugging. He's got 5 home runs and 9 stolen bases on the season so far. Then there's John Ryan Murphy, our starting catcher, .267 average, .341 OBP, .442 slugging, and 9 home runs. And I've actually done something a bit different where I've actually only starting John Ryan Murphy against right-handers, and I'm starting Gordon Miller against left-handers as the catcher because for whatever reason, John Ryan Murphy's a right-handed bat, just cannot hit left-handers. I believe he has a sub 200 average against lefties, just can't hit them for whatever reason. So Gordon Miller is a guy who can hit lefties. He's playing against lefties. Gordon Miller's playing against, John Ryan Murphy against righties, Gordon Miller against lefties, and that's what we're rolling with there. We're going to see how that works. I might switch it back to Murphy full-time, but as of right now, they are platooning against lefties and righties. Rio Ruiz is a guy who I called up, I believe, last month, and he's gotten 89 at-bats in the major leagues. He played first base while Freeman was hurt. He's our third baseman when we go to the American League games, while Gong DHs. The guy is an absolute wizard in the field, and he's been hitting pretty well, too. 303 average, 347 OBP, 494 slugging, and 89 at-bats. Those are pretty much all coming off the bench and just spot starts here and there, so pretty good average and OBP and slugging for Ruiz in that small sample size of 89 at-bats. Nori Aoki, he was signed as our fourth outfielder, as all our fourth outfielders, our fourth and fifth outfielders just weren't performing. So Aoki got signed. He's hitting 265, 311 OBP, only in 68 at-bats, though. He's a fourth outfielder. He just comes up the bench every few days. He plays, pinch hits, he pinch runs a decent amount. So Nori Aoki, he definitely is not going to be a star for us, but he is definitely filling that fourth outfielder role more than guys like Zach Granite were, who were hitting, well, like 100. And like I mentioned earlier, I was thinking about trading Spangenberg, and we are heading into the month of July, so do expect to see some trades here coming up in the month. I would expect to see multiple trades happen. I want to improve this team. I want to really give it a go for the playoffs this season, but without sacrificing our future. But like I have mentioned, we do have so many starting pitchers that we can't just hoard these guys. There's no reason to hoard 15 B+ or B and A potential starting pitchers. There's no reason to have that many starting pitching prospects when you can trade a couple of them for some assets that can help you right here and right now. Guys who are pitching well, who I probably won't be trading, are guys like Pete Payton with a 2.11 ERA and a 108 WHIP in 85 1/3 innings pitched in Double-A. Guys like Mike Soroka with a 2.55 ERA, 119 WHIP, 91.2 innings pitched, 89 strikeouts in Triple-A. There's Colby Allard, who has done he's struggled a bit in our system, but he's definitely turning things around. He's got 97 strikeouts, 94 innings, 3.16 ERA. And then there's Ozzie Albies, guy who I won't be trading. He's going to be our starting second baseman next year. That is for sure. Marwin Gonzalez is not going to be coming back next season. Albies is the everyday guy next year. He is hitting 445 at-bats in AAA since being sent back down there. There's Travis Demerit, who's a C potential guy, but he's a guy who can hit 294 at-bats in AAA. He's got 7 home runs, 276 average. He's a guy right now who can only play second and third, but I would not be surprised to see him move to a corner outfield position in the future, because second and third are positions that are set for us for a long time coming. So corner outfield, we do have a lot of prospects that can go to those spots, but if Demerit really has a shot and making him out Major League roster, it's either going to be as a bench guy, as a second base / third base guy, or it is going to be as a corner outfield guy. There's Kevin Maton as well. He's still a few years away from the major leagues, but he is definitely going to be on the major league roster at some point. I'm not going to be trading him. A 269 average in Double-A, 8 home runs and 211 at-bats. He's in Double-A right now, 19 years old. I would expect him to be the starting third baseman, possibly when Jung-Ho Gong leaves, maybe. He'll be MLB ready, so when Gong leaves from his contract, maybe Maton will just take over right from there. There's Leon Fenn, who's got a 351 average in Double-A. He was our first-round pick last year. He is just tearing things up. 5 home runs, 43 runs, 228 at-bats. Teoscar Hernandez is a guy I traded for in Season 1. When we traded Jaime Garcia to the Astros, we got Marwin Gonzalez and Teoscar Hernandez back. I thought that Teoscar Hernandez was going to be the main piece in that, but it turns out that Marwin Gonzalez was. Hernandez just hasn't been good. He couldn't hit in the major leagues, can't hit in AAA. In 225 at-bats, he's got a 218 average. His 32 vision is probably why he can't hit, because even if he has good contact stats, he's not going to be able to hit if he can't make contact with the ball, and that's what the vision is. It's your ability to make contact. It's ability to see the ball and make contact regularly. He just can't do that with that 32 vision. Disappointing, so he's pretty much going to be like a minor league player at this point. There's also Bill Escalona, who's a guy who could have a chance to be on the roster next year. He's a high contact, high average, high OBP guy in the corner outfield. Great arm in right field as well. 214 at-bats. He's hitting 280 in Double-A. And basically, if I am going to make trades, I want these trades to help us this year, but also not put us in a logjam for next season. So, like this season, there's sort of a logjam of positions where there's Marwin Gonzalez at second base, so Albies, despite me wanting him in the major leagues, he's not really suited to be a backup guy. I would want him to play every day, so he's in AAA right now. So there's more of a logjam at those positions. with starting pitching, we have so much starting pitching and so much relief pitching that we have guys in AAA who I would like to see in the major leagues right now, but we just don't have room for them because our starting pitching 1 to 5 and our relief pitching is just in depth right now. We could possibly improve on the relief pitching, but as far as the starters go, we've got guys like I mentioned, Pete Payton, Soroka, Colby Allard, Aaron Blair, who's a potential guy, Glenn Sparkman, all these guys in AAA who we could possibly be good pitchers in the major leagues. They're just not getting chances because we have so much starting pitching depth. And even those guys that I've mentioned, there's other guys like Ian Anderson, Luis Gohara, Joey Wentz. There's just countless guys in our starting pitching system that we can trade for prospects, but I don't want to create a logjam with trading those prospects. So I would prefer to trade for like a rental at the deadline, or guys where I know they're not going to create a logjam if I do trade for them for multiple seasons. Because next season I do want this team to go a lot younger and have a lot more young pieces around, like second baseman being Albies, both corner outfield positions being young guys who are getting chances. I don't really want to sign too many people this upcoming offseason, and I want to give it a go this season. So a rental piece is probably what you want to, is probably what I'm going to be going out and getting at the deadline. I probably want to get another bat, a big power bat, possibly moving up in the, possibly getting a bullpen, maybe 2 power bats. We'll see what happens at the deadline or through the month of July, but that is probably what I want to do heading into the month of July. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Atlanta Braves franchise. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I'm saying goodbye.
They'll all look at me and say